Okay, so me being fun was, was just being me. Now, then I found this.
There you are, playing the PvP in your World War II shooter, and all of a sudden, you're a Nazi.
What?
You didn't ask for this. You didn't choose this. Yet there it is. And it's treated no differently than playing a British soldier.
Yeah, because it's a game. It's... Jesus.
This is bad on so many levels.
How's it bad?
No one should ever have a random chance of fighting for the Nazis. And we should never express that there's no meaningful difference between Nazis and Allied soldiers.
Yeah, and there is. But it's a game. It's a game. It's meant to be fair, because if you have a choice and the two teams are so significantly different that one team is fundamentally better than the other, you're gonna choose that team because you want to win, not because you're thinking of the politics of the British and the Germans.
Soldiers, or that they're functionally interchangeable.
Which they should be in games.
And before anyone equivocates and says not all German soldiers in World War II were Nazis, if they were wearing the swastika and are functioning as an arm of the...
Yeah, but you didn't tell them, most of the German soldiers were forced into the military. Okay, whatever.
Nazi government, then unless the game goes out of its way to tell you specifically that your particular character is not a Nazi, then they're a Nazi. In that multiplayer shooter,
but who cares?
When it switched you to the German side, did it go out of its way to tell you that the person you're playing was pressed into service under threat of their life?
Hey, that's the point I just made. But it doesn't matter. It's a game.
Yeah, that's a big old nope. Oh, and on a similar note, let's please stop forcing people to play as terrorists as well.
Are you trying to talk about CSGO? Because in that game, you swap sides.
Are playing your modern shooter, and all of a sudden you're a terrorist. You didn't ask for this, you didn't choose this, and yet second verse, same as the first. There it is. I mean, that's literally the name of your side in the game. We can do better than this. Even if you put aside all of the people who have had traumatic experiences with these groups, who have lost loved ones to terrorists, or...
So... it's a game.
Who have had generations of their families wiped out by Nazis. No one should have to put on the costume of an ideology they find abhorrent without...
Yeah, guess what? I find the Nazis abhorrent, but in World War II shooters, I still choose them. Because they have better weapons than the Allies in certain games.
Actually opting into it in your game. And by making people do so, we get them to stop thinking about it. To stop...
Oh, I can argue against this by saying, okay, Donald Trump's a Nazi. Yeah, if anything, saying people are Nazis are, completely distancing it from actual Nazis. It's not video games, because everybody understands video games are make-believe. They're not what actually happened.
Stop thinking of the meaning behind these things. We normalize them. We make them just window dressing for entertainment.
Yeah. Okay, sure, I may have played a couple World War II simulators, but am I saying Heil Hitler and, saluting him? No.
Uniforms, those symbols, become things that no longer inherently revolt us. They reduce our visceral reaction to seeing the embodiment of these ideologies.
Wow, it's almost like you've never seen them.
Apologies.
Except for those stupid biker gangs.
Now, does this make us totally ignore the history that comes with them? No. But for some people, it moves them from the territory of revolting to just edgy. It makes scrawling a swastika on something change from unthinkable to just dangerous.
So, no, it also makes it, quite an obscene gesture, because who doesn't recognize the swastika? I recognize it. But whatever.
It means you might not take iron crosses all over a website as a warning sign that you should immediately leave. And if you don't leave, you might start reading and buying into hateful ideas.
It doesn't just work like that. People have to agree with that. If you think if a website says execute all Jews, are you going to believe that? No, you're going to immediately leave.
Ideas there. It seems like such a small and simple thing, but it's things like this that erode our safeguards against dangers we sacrifice so much to fight.
Like calling people Nazis?
By the time you've played 100 hours of being a Nazi, their voice stabs become memes and in-jokes with your friends.
So what's the problem with this?
By the 1,000th time you respawned as a terrorist, you're either celebrating them or making fun of them. Neither of which helps the global crisis we have that takes thousands of lives every year.
How does making fun of terrorists not help?
So what do? That's easy. Don't make them morally equivalent. Don't make there be no in-game moral difference between your Nazi...
A moral difference. Yeah, I wonder how that's going to happen. Breaking news! A bunch of alt-right Nazis saying, hey, I don't want politics in my game, get the hell out, Gamergate 2.0.
Nazis and your allies, between your terrorists and your counter-terrorist squads. Frame PvP as a training exercise, or simply take one of your non-odious sides and recolor them so that it's red versus blue, rather than Axis versus allies.
Okay, yeah, let me go just take everything, red versus blue. Oh yeah, German weapons, all this, German lines, but red versus blue. Come on, we can do this.
A good example of a game that does this is Rainbow Six Siege. All of your bomb diffusion and hostage rescue multiplayer with no normalizing terrorists. In fact, by having all of the characters as counter-terrorists training for a possible threat, it highlights how real and present of a threat that is. And if you decide that you need to have both sides be playable, don't make them interchangeable. Don't have players randomly spawn in as one or the other. Allow players to choose which side they're on.
So what? Are you just going... What about a limit? I mean, because that could be hugely biased.
Now, of course, this has all sorts of in-game problems.
Oh, wow. Like, I don't know. Game quality, the thing that games should, be worrying about, game quality.
Such as creating shorter wait times for fascists. But you know what? Those wait times could be artificially extended if it meant players had...
Seriously?
...an active choice in what teams they would represent if you're saying we need people playing Nazis in our games. And if you're going to say, but we need it for historical reasons, then your game better actually be historical. You can't really just hide behind the fact you called your desert map El Alamein and say, but it's historical. If that were the case, you need your PvP to at least represent real historical events.
So?
And be a realistic take on those battles. Once you make both sides balanced, it's also no longer historical. And you can't really say that you need Nazis...
Yeah, but it's a game.
...anymore for historical accuracy. Oh, and once you let players get cool weapons that weren't actually at that particular battleground, it's also no longer historically accurate. And you can't declare that your game will suffer if you don't put players in the jackboots of the Third Reich.
Okay, so what am I supposed to do? I have a World War II shooter, right? What am I supposed to go do? Allies versus... anonymous group who keeps making odd gestures with their arms. I mean, come on. What am I supposed to do in that situation?
And once your map is something carefully designed to have good gameplay by a team in a room in San Francisco or LA, and it's not a faithful reconstruction of the actual places the historical events occurred in, you can no longer say we need to have players take up arms in service of terror or hate.
Yeah, but it's just a game.
And look, we're not saying we can't have games about World War II or about terrorism.
Actually, you are. Because you're saying, oh yeah, we can't have people playing as Nazis as long as it's not historical. Or we can't have people play as terrorists. Well, what are you going to do? You're just going to get rid of the entire World War II thing. Or you're just going to make it so people won't be able to play as Germans. the most well known the most well known Axis country from World War II. Germany.
Terrorism. We're not even saying we shouldn't make games where you play as a Nazi or a terrorist.
Yeah, actually, you kind of are.
But what we are saying is that the fact that you're playing as a Nazi or a terrorist in a game has to mean something. And it can't just be a skin. It can't be something that a game randomly drops you.
Well, that's kind of the point. There should be no functional difference. It should just be, hey, soldier on this team, look, it's just the skin. Here's how you identify other teammates. They look like you. Oh, wow.
You into. And really, if we are saying anything in this episode, it's this. Games can do better. And in this particular case,
yeah, they can make gameplay better.
It's not even that hard to do better. And it's no more costly to do better. How's
it no more costly? You'd have... Okay, well, what if the ally wait time got so long, people started choosing Axis? Oh no! We have too many Nazis.
All it requires is that we in the game industry...
Oh, also, you'd have to pay some programmer to write that code. Then you'd have to change all your skins and voice lines. Or you'd have to completely redraw the map.
Be cognizant of the world around us and what these symbols we're drawing on mean. That we think as we're building, not just about the game we're working on, but about the world as a whole. If we can...
That's not the point of a game. The point of a game is to try to entertain you.
Do that. We can take a big step forward for the industry. We can stop helping to normalize Nazis.
It's not normalizing Nazis. Most games, you don't really fight as the bad guys. Tell me any game that includes Nazis, and hey, guess what? You may fight as them, but you're fighting against them. Oh, and you also might see, the other characters, be ruthless, heartless, like history, that thing you keep telling us it has to be. Jesus, I'm mad.